Mayor Rothschild.
Right. Can you hear me? Right now, there are several homes, and I hope it's a trend that people are tearing down, having torn down, and building newer, bigger houses, sometimes acquiring second lots. But the impediment is finding the owner. So the good news for us is that we're moving along. We've had 3 houses sell for over $330,000 in the last year, so we're happy about that. Doesn't solve the whole problem, but at least it's getting on its way. I think if the paperwork and the speed would somehow happen, I think you'd find that we would be better off in the end anyway. Thank you.
I would just mention one example of a positive development arising from this is that we were able to obtain a $300,000 grant to transform an entire street in our community, which will allow us to acquire a number of the properties and also build new properties which are going to be extremely energy efficient. We're planning to use geothermal energy. And so this street really is intended to be a model for other similar projects. So those kinds of opportunities do exist.
I would like to explain another thing. Can you still hear me? Good. I'm among the big cities, the giants, and you heard all the money they get? We don't get it. We have to compete for it. So we're probably more frugal in the end. No insult to anybody here than you guys, because we have to live on a limited budget.
It's a great question. I think there are some opportunities. I mentioned the 2 couples that came and talked to me about moving back into our city. Well, I think that there's an opportunity to maybe reverse some of this sprawl, because we have affordable housing, houses that you can buy and fix up and maybe even tear down, and a couple of houses, have a bigger lot and build a new house. With good schools and safe neighborhoods, we can maybe an opportunity to pull people back into the inner ring suburbs. So this could be an opportunity, a time when we start seeing some of this. And, discouraging people from moving out of the inner ring suburbs. That's a challenge for us, because they'll want, we'll have to make sure that our schools are good and that we're safe and we're able to deliver good services, because the housing's affordable, no question about it. So that's the challenge.
As you just said, Mayor, the sprawl is part of the problem, because it leads to people moving out of the inner ring suburbs, and and this is something that's been trained in Americans to want a newer home. So that's not going to go away. But as a panel of first-ring mayors, is there any talk about something that could be done at the state level to level the playing field, or to stop the unfair advantage that undeveloped countryside has over first-ring suburbs and core cities?
Well, I'd just like to say that there are a group of mayors who are looking at this issue and are trying to favor and support policies that really try to improve things in the inner ring suburbs. Certainly the First Suburbs Consortium is an example, but there are other organizations on a regional level. I think one of the problems is with the lack of regional planning. Instead of planning for superhighways to take people farther and farther out, I'd like to say, as a mayor of a suburb that has a RTA light rail system right within it, that we ought to be favoring things like looking at transportation through rail, looking at opportunities for people who live closer in to be in proximity to the central city. Trying to build up the core of the central city to make it more attractive. But I think it's going to take a coordinated regional effort, And I think we need to be moving in an opposite direction from where we've gone in the past with that kind of planning.
Ken?
I'm going to try and answer that question delicately. It goes against my nature. But the cities that take on the regional responsibility of housing and, yes, caring for and providing services to folks of modest incomes are by definition the losers. This needs to be reversed. Now, I'm not talking about some Robin Hood theory, because what I just said is a basic fact of life. One thing that can be done is for, finally, the state of Ohio to step up to its responsibility in an area like, tell me if you've heard this one before, educational funding reform.
That's right.
What would that mean? It would probably mean raising your state taxes because you have to pay for something one way or another, but it would free up resources at the local level to do the kind of redevelopment that all the folks sitting up here are absolutely committed to. There's all kinds of good things we could tell you about our community, and good news, even though the subject of this discussion here is kind of a series of bad news items. And if we can just get that state of Ohio to accept its responsibility, that would be quite a trick. Jim Rokakis sat down in the State House for how long? A couple of months to get your bill passed. Maybe you're our key lobbyist. Maybe you know the answer.
Are we getting a signal here to wrap up? Is that what I'm being told, Carrie? Well, I don't know who's going to do the wrap-up. Am I expected to do it? All right, I am. Okay, I didn't know that, but since I'm wrapping up, I'd like to... Oh, you're going to do it.
I can share it with you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of the people on this panel. They have incredibly difficult jobs, and they put a positive spin on it, but trust me, I think I know as well as anybody just how they've had to struggle with this issue day in, day out, in trying to stabilize their communities, and I want to thank them for joining us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Jim.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today for this forum. It is with the generous funding from the CAC that we were able at Obama Theater to partner with our friends at the City Club to bring you what I think has turned out to be an important discussion. Thank you to Jim Foster and Carrie Miller for their assistance. Much thanks to Mr. Rokakis for helping us today with his moderation. He also came to a rehearsal and talked to the cast and provided some very helpful insight on this topic. And he will also be a talkback person following the May 16th production of Dream Home. I invite everyone and I encourage you to come to see the play. It opens on the 15th of May. Come and experience the cast as they share with you Sarah Morton's play. I think it will tie very nicely into this. It opens on the 15th and it runs through the 7th, and you have postcards in front of you. There is an offer there for a 2-for-1 for you to come to the show. And thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, gentlemen and Beryl. Thanks.